Hey guys, this video is for the gear geeks and gearheads out there who want to see all my new gear for this next year. That's right, it is springtime. That is, spring is going to be upon us officially in the next week here. And that means it is tax return season. Apparently it's coronavirus season as well. Unfortunately, that's pretty much affecting everyone now to some degree or another. Jobs, school for those with kids, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this all passes over soon. People can get back to traveling and get on with any trips they have planned, get back to their jobs, and get on with their normal routine of life. So in the meantime, gonna have as much fun as we can given the circumstances and carry on. So back to the gear. Every year, I'm fortunate with my family situation to get a nice little tax return or tax refund. And usually that means some gear upgrades. This year, it means a lot of gear upgrades. So let's dig into it. Got a lot of items to show off here, so let's go. Item number one, ground sheets. Right here is a couple sheets of Tyvek. And this is what I've been using the last few years for my ground sheets or footprints for my tents. And this stuff has been great. It's fairly lightweight. It's pretty durable. It's mostly, for the most part, it's pretty waterproof. It gets the job done. Stuff has held up for a long time, and I can still get a lot of life out of these. And I'll probably still use one of these sheets for like a porch floor for when I go hammock camping. But I want to try something new. So out with the old and in with the new. What is this? A window insulative kit? What? Oh, no, this is to make some polycro ground sheets. This is basically a DIY way to make polycro ground sheet. You can get the polycro stuff from like Gossamer gear, pre-cut to certain dimensions. This I'll just be taking out, laying out in my yard, and then tracing the outlines of a number of tents that I have to get the stuff to fit precisely within the dimensions of my tent or tents. I guess it's prone to static as well at times, so that might be fun to deal with. I really want to just give it a chance and go with the lighter weight property of it. So I'm looking at it savings of, you know, half the weight in ounces, at least half the weight, if not more. Going from 4 to 5 ounces to 1 to 2 ounces. So it should come out to at least 2.5 to 3 ounces of weight savings with the polycro. On to item number 2, my food bag or bear bag kit. So last year I sewed this bag right here and made it to be used as bear bag. It was made with some ripstop nylon, just the basic stuff you can get at like Joann's fabric store. And I looked up some videos on YouTube, looked at pictures of other manufacturers that make little bear bag kits, and used the Velcro enclosure. And yeah, just made a nice little roll top bag here. For that I was using some outdoor product bags, some other various stuff sack type bags. So I really like the roll top design, and the size of this works really well for most of my trips. A weekend style trip, I measured it to be about 11 to 12 inches wide, and when it's undone all the way, it will roll out to about 17 inches or so high. It's not that I want to get rid of this or that I don't like it, but I get the sewing bug every year and want to make some new gear just for the heck of it. This time I wanted to try some more Dyneema project. So in with the DCF. I picked up a yard of DCF or Dyneema composite fabric from Ripstop by the roll. Still kind of pricey for what it is, but the stuff's good stuff. And so I want to do some things a little different from this bag to this bag as I put it together. And this was in part inspired by the design by Ben McMillan, who runs hilltoppacks.com. He's got a lot of great stuff. Go check them out. Was gonna get a bag customized. I still might for an electronics bag here in the future. But for a bear bag, I thought, oh, what the heck, I can try making it myself. And that's what I did. So Ben, on his bear bag design, he actually makes his belt buckles a little cleaner. So I tried my best to mimic his design by sewing in my belt buckles into the side seams here, as opposed to the outside of the roll top as is done in other designs. And then instead of doing the Velcro roll top enclosure, I went with the cam snap. I bought myself a cam snap kit with the tools and snaps and installed a snap instead. And so that is now how I make the roll top work with that. And then clips, and then the loop here is a little bit separate, and that's what you put your carabiner on and hang your food. I also squared off the bottoms, which is something I also did with this bag. Just enjoy the little square bottoms. I think it just gives a little extra dimension, makes a little bit better use of the space. The weight difference is very minimal. This is 1.2 ounces. This brought the weight down to 1 ounce exactly, so 0.2 ounce difference. Item number 3, my pack liner. So over the years I've been using these Nylofume pack liners. They're pretty large bags. They are different from a compact trash bag that's more popular for a lot of users to use as a waterproof liner for the inside of their pack. This is lighter weight than those. This is 0.9 ounces. It's a mil thick, but it also serves as a odor resistant or odor barrier. It really does a good job of protecting smells from leaching into your sleeping gear. Now, I actually have a smaller version of these kinds of bags that I use as a liner in my bear bag. And that I was also using to waterproof my food. So I'm not too concerned about the odor barrier that I'll be losing by giving this up. I want to try something that's a little hybrid between a liner and a stuff sack, and came up with, why not make a bigger version of my food or bear bag here and do an extra large version of it, which I made off the exact same design. And again, a roll top enclosure with the snap. This could actually serve as another bear bag for a whole lot more food. The reason that I'm wanting to try this out is not only will it continue to provide a waterproof barrier to my sleeping gear, but I wanted something that would help compress the gear a little bit better and when I need the extra space in my pack. And also it's just convenient because when you roll and close the buckle up, it gives you this nice little handle. You can pull all your sleeping gear out of your pack in one motion and slide that out and then just set that in your tent. I do gain weight with this though. This one weighs in at 1.6 ounces, so it's a 0.7 ounce increase in weight going from the Nylofume liner to the DCF bag. Item number 4, my rain gear. For the last few years, I have been using a Frogg Toggs Ultralight 2 jacket for my rain jacket. I've not had to use it very often. That might explain why it's still in mint condition. I have had no issues with any rips or tears in it or holes. So it does have that reputation of not being very durable. But again, I haven't had to go bushwhacking with it or get it snagged on anything. I suppose some people have even snagged it or pinched it off, putting on a pack or taking a pack off and gotten a rip in it, but I have not had that experience yet with this. I've been very careful with it, and it's just really cheap and really lightweight, weighing in at 6 ounces. For years, I've had my eye on like an outdoor research helium 2, but just couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on it. I just figured this was good enough, and it has been to a point, but it's also really kind of baggy, and I just felt like, I don't know, and that may be a good thing because that gives you a little air inside to breathe around with, but the itch to try something new. So I learned about another product that's been out there that I didn't know about till recently, and that was another Frogg Toggs rain jacket. This is the Xtreme Lite rain jacket by Frogg Toggs. It's a little bit pricier. I bought this for about $25 on Amazon, where these run for about around $15-ish, and you can also get these at your local Walmart. They usually come in a set with some rain pants that I also have laying in storage that go with these. But this jacket just seems to have a better fit. I took the small, and it definitely fits me just right. And it leaves just enough space for me to comfortably fit my insulative puffy inside if I need to need some extra warmth and insulation, while also being protected from rain and moisture. Yeah, it seems to be a slightly more durable material. Also got some little grommet vents in the armpits. I don't think those are going to be very functional as well as other jackets are with their pit zipped vents that you get, but I'm still going to give it a whirl, not just as a rain jacket, but also to try and replace this guy right here. This is an old windbreaker style jacket. It's got plenty of ventilation, and I've packed it along almost all of my trips, and only really get it out and use it when it's, of course, really windy, but definitely when I'm up scrambling on ridges and looking for peaks to bag and summit. But this is pretty heavy for what it is, when its main purpose is just a windbreaker, a wind jacket. It weighs in at 10.8 ounces all by itself. So looking to try and shed some weight here by ditching this guy and seeing how this holds up as a windbreaker as well. And if I get too active with it where I feel the sweat building up inside, I'll just unzip it a little bit. And if I'm not satisfied with it as a wind jacket, I'll look into a much more ultralight version of a wind jacket out there. So jacket to jacket in weight here, going from 6 ounces up to 7.1 ounces with this. So I gain an ounce and a half with the upgrade to this jacket. Again, I think the material is slightly more durable. I still wouldn't want to go bushwhacking with it though. But if it allows me to not have to take the other windbreaker that I have, I will actually decrease my weight by 10.8 ounces. All right, item number 5. Keeping to the jacket category, let's talk puffies here. This is the puffy I had been taking out with me the last few years. So it's a Gerry brand, and it's the Costco special. I see these out at Costco every winter. Usually the color schemes get switched up. It's a 650 fill power jacket, and it's served its purpose really well. It's been lighter weight and more packable than synthetic puffies that I had before. And it's kept me warm in most every condition I've needed it. It does not have a hood, and that was okay for the times I'd been using it, because I always take a beanie with me to sleep in or wear. But I wanted to look at, well, what other hooded options are out there for a new puffy jacket if I were to get one. And I was looking at the Ghost Whisper from Mountain Hardwear. I was looking at Arc'teryx jackets and some other ones. I was looking at another one that I saw in a video done by Justin Outdoors. He did one on a brand called Decathlon that has a nice little puffy down jacket out there with a hood, and almost pulled the trigger on that. But then I saw this guy listed on a local Facebook ad in the Facebook market. And this is a Mammut 850 jacket. It's called the Mammut Broad Peak In Hooded Down Jacket. And I'm pretty excited. At first I was like, yeah, do I really want that bright yellow color? I mean, is it gonna attract bees and hornets and wasps and all that fun stuff? Let's hope not. But it has a hood. The fabric is Pertex fabric. You guys, this jacket retails for $300 or $299 to be exact. I got this for $100. It had only been used once on one little trip by the previous owner, and they just weren't satisfied with the fit for some reason. So they were eager to get rid of it, and I was the lucky benefactor, I think. I have tried it on a couple times, and it just feels great. Perfect fit for me, I think. And what's cool about this jacket is the side pockets, or the hand pockets, are actually elevated from where they would normally be on most other jackets like this out there. This actually elevates it above your hip belt or harness. It's nice to know that these pockets will not be impeded, and then I can like store a phone or camera battery in there and keep it a little extra warm and insulated against my body heat while still backpacking. So this one weighs in at 12.3 ounces. I lose a little weight moving up to this hooded jacket where it comes in 11.6 ounces. Item number 6. Let's have a little pillow talk, shall we? So this is a pillow I frequently take out with me over the last few years. This is a Wilderness Technology brand, but it's not unlike a lot of the other brands that you find on Amazon. Obviously, the design of it is very comparable to the Sea to Summit Eros series of pillows. Wilderness Technology. I don't know why it seems to be printed upside down here, but this is just a store brand for a local recreation shop called Rec Outlet. They also have a website, recoutlet.com. This weighs about 3 ounces, and you know, it's functional and it's comfortable enough, does the job. But then I was watching a video by, I want to say Justin Outdoors. In it, they had a pillow very similar to this one, but it had a strap on it that it came with and allowed you to strap it around the pad. And that is a Trekology pillow. It's a Trekology Aloofed 2.0, available on Amazon. And the key differences, again, is the strap that they kind of added these snaps on to the outer edges, and this allows you to strap it to the outside of your pad. They also added little silicone or some kind of rubberized dots or beads on the back here to try and help give it a little extra friction or drag to prevent slipping or minimize slippage off your sleeping pad. And I just thought that was kind of cool, so wanted to try it out and went ahead and got one. Unfortunately, the added little features do add a little bit more weight. So this one comes in about 3.7 ounces. So that's a 0.7 ounce increase from this to this for the added features and functionality. So we'll see if it's worth that extra weight increase as we go along in the season here. Let's move on. Item number 7, sleeping pads. A year or two ago, I picked up a Climate Insulated V Ultralight SL. I've been using this over the last year, and gotta say, I really love it. It's got a different kind of valve system on it, and it's been comfortable for me and warm enough for me. They are valued at 4.4. Now, I don't know what it is under the new standard. They have not yet verified what it is under the new standard. I don't know if they've officially tested it under the new standard yet. And I'd be happy to keep using this. This is 15 ounces. But then Thermarest came up with a new valve system last fall for their Neo Air series of pads. And that meant the prior model was put on closeouts on a lot of websites, and it still is. So I went looking at steepandcheap.com at the Neo Air X Lite, and they knocked that price down to $95. And I could not say no to it. So this is the regular size, non-women specific version, the 12-ounce Neo Air X Lite that's been so popular for so many users out there. And yes, it's the noisy one. But I'm okay with that. I'm gonna deal with the noise. Hopefully it decreases as it gets broken in a little bit more and gets a lot more use. I've heard that's the case with these, is the crinkly sound of it does get a little bit better after so many uses with it. So we'll see if that holds true or not for me, but still 12 ounces. So it's a 3-ounce drop in weight from the Climate to the Neo Air, and they're both got the same dimensions, 20-inch by 72-inch by 2.5-inch thick, according to their labels. But this one has the welded seams in between the baffles that kind of make the thickness inconsistent with this one. This one's got the consistent 2.5-inch thickness all the way down, and so that's a little bit, makes it a little bit nicer, especially for sitting on it. Also gives you a bit of more play with the cushioning in terms of how much air you want to put in it, between full blown or slightly less for a little cushier feel. But so yeah, I'm super excited to have both of these pads really. And again, another great pad I have that will continue to be used with kids and or friends that want to have the luxury of a lighter weight air pad, and a warm pad at that, to take with them. So yeah, Thermarest Neo Air X Lite. I finally have one. Could not say no to $95. This thing used to retail for $160. Got to keep moving along though. Item number 8, sleeping bag. This is the Teton Sports Altos 20 degree bag I've been using. It is supposed to be Ian comfort rated down to 20 degrees, what I was told. It's been a great bag compared to the synthetic bags that I had prior to this. This is my first down bag, and this has always been warm for me. I have never been cold in it. More often than not, in fact, I've had to unzip it a bit and sleep with it vented out a little bit. So I have really enjoyed the warmth of it, and it's been plenty large enough for me to wiggle around in and not be too constricted in. And honestly, I would have still used this through this season, because I was looking at next spring upgrading or switching out to a quilt and trying out the quilts that are so popular now. I was looking at UGQ Bandits, given the affordability of their quilts compared to other cottage makers and all the impressive customizable features on their quilts. But then another deal came along in a Facebook gear grip I could not pass up, and that is for this guy. REI Magma 30, brand new, still with tags on it, 19 ounces. I dropped a whole nother pound of weight by getting this against this. So this is just over a pound, and the only downside to this bag, get the pun there, downside, ha ha ha, down. Hey, I'm a dad. This is a 30 degree rated bag, and by 30 degrees, that's the lower limit that's been tested for. It's actually comfort rated at 39 degrees, so I might as well call it a 40 degree bag for true comfort. So I decided to keep the tags on still just to show that off, but I tested it out in my backyard about a week ago. The temperatures were supposed to approach the low 30s, so I thought it was a great opportunity to test this out and see how far its limit and comfort rating compared for me. So I wore the same type of clothes that I typically wear when I'm backpacking, my fleece lined base layers, And I gotta say, I did get a chill in this in the early hours of the morning. When I woke up with a chill, it was probably about 36, 35 degrees. And yeah, at that point, I decided it was cold enough to put on my puffy jacket. And from there on out, I was perfectly comfortable and perfectly warm the rest of the morning till I was ready to wake up for good. And also of note, I was also testing this out on my new Neo Air X Lite. So I had plenty of insulation under me. I was always warm underneath. It was just the top that I had a little chill going on. So I'd say the rating for me is kind of held up true. You know, it was definitely comfortable down to 40, but once it got down the mid 30s, it started to get a chill. But with my puffy jacket being as warm as it was, I would trust this bag, again with my jacket on, probably down to the mid 20s at least. And so I am definitely looking forward to making this my new bag, at least for this year, and maybe beyond. We'll see. Again, I'm a slender guy, so I don't get too constricted in these mummy bags. So I still have no issues with twisting and turning it in it, even with the puffy jacket worn inside this one. So I had no issues with being claustrophobic in it, and this is just so much more compressible, so much lighter weight. Almost weight-wise, it's very comparable to the quilt I would have gotten and still may get next year. Okay, item number 9. Let's talk tents. First, a one-person tent. So for the last couple years, I've been using a tent by a brand called Adventure Research, and this is their Himalaya one-person tent. Adventure Research is another store brand from the same store that I sometimes shop at up in the north half of my county that I live in. And again, they put out some pretty good products under their store brands. Why they have 2 brands between Wilderness Technology and Adventure Research, I do not know. But this, suffice it to say, this tent is very comparable to the Big Agnes. Forget the exact model of the Big Agnes tent that it's like. Anyhow, this is a freestanding dome tent, front entry with the front vestibule, and it weighs 2.4 pounds or 39 ounces packed in its respective stuff sacks between the poles and the tent body itself. So still fairly lightweight for what it is. It is a sil nylon material that the majority of it is made with to give it the waterproofing around it. Now, why do I still carry a dome tent from time to time with the extra weight of the extra poles over something like the tarp tent notch that I have, which is much lighter weight? Well, I go down to the deserts of southern Utah a lot, and while I can pitch the tarp tent notch, there with rocks, it's a little bit more fussy to do so. When camping out in the desert, you're gonna get sand and dust in it to some degree, and it's so much easier to shake all that out in the morning with a dome tent with the door left open. You can just shake out most everything out of there. Again, this is a tent I'd be perfectly happy to continue using. I used it on my trip with Devin along the Beehive Traverse route in Capitol Reef a couple years ago. I used it also in another trip down Capitol Reef that same year, and my wife's used it a couple times, and it's a nice tent. But yes, another great deal came up on a Facebook gear group that was too hard to resist, and so I pulled the trigger on it, and that is this REI quarter dome 1 tent. So this is actually a semi-freestanding tent, so it's not a fully freestanding tent. There are a couple corners. In order to give it the full structure, it needs to still be staked or anchored out with a couple rocks when you can't use stakes. But all in all, it's still very much like a freestanding tent that has a pole structure, obviously, and easy to shake the dust and sand out. But the big difference on this tent over this tent that made me pull the trigger on this is the side entry. It is a side entry, side vestibule, and it also knocks a couple ounces of weight down. Packed in these stuff sacks, it is a 36 ounce tent. So it takes down 3 ounces. And if I leave the stuff sacks at home, it becomes a 34 ounce tent. So very excited to have this both for the side entry and side vestibule. But it's also, I love the color scheme. It's got this burnt orange and gray color to it, and it's just gonna look great, blend in really well down in the deserts. Happy to have that. My wife loves the side entries much more than the front entries, much easier to get in and out of. But also, it gives me a second dome tent. So again, now I have 2 lightweight single person tents, so I can outfit a friend or let one of my kids carry this who want their own tent to sleep in. All right, item number 10. Right behind me is the old tent that I've had for 10 years. It's that REI half dome tent. This tent has been used on many trips over the years, and it's been the tent that my wife and I use on our trips together. I love this tent. It's roomy, it's spacious, sets up super easy. It's got lots of gear pockets in it and storage space. And this is actually a tent I won from REI directly when they first went onto Facebook. They had a photo contest. This was about time when companies were just coming onto the social media scene. Social media in general was kind of in its infancy as it was. And yeah, I was lucky enough to place 3rd place with a photo that I shot on a 3 megapixel point and shoot camera. Submitted it. It got enough votes to place 3rd place. Won me this half dome 2 tent. Awesome, right? So the only thing is, it's heavy compared to what's out there now. So I got thinking, you know what? Should lighten up our load for the trips that I go on with my wife. At least for the alpine, mountain, forested environments. We will still probably use this tent because of the dome style that it is for the desert trips that we'll still go on. But for those summertime mountain trips and into the forests and what have you, we are going to say goodbye to the half dome, leave that one at home, and move on to the Mirror Lanchantu. This is just the exact same tent as the popular 3F Gear UL Lanchantus, just under a different brand. Mirror, got this off Amazon. Spent about $150 on this guy. It was $130 before I got my refund, then it went up in price for some reason. Now it's up to like $160. I'm not sure if the whole virus in China and the production supply chains are having an effect on that. This tent weighs over 5 pounds altogether. This tent weighs about 2.5 pounds trail weight. Now, mind you, to cut the weight down on this tent in the past, my wife and I, when we go out with it, we will split the weight up by one of us will take the inner body or the mesh body of the tent and like the poles. The other one of us will take the fly and stakes and get the weight down to about 2.5-ish pounds for each of us with this tent. Well, this tent too comes in 2 main pieces. It's got a fly, and then it's also got inner mesh body with it. We can split those 2 apart and get our weight down to just over 1 pound between the 2 of us each. And that is awesome. So it does not have its own poles. It sets up with trekking poles, and that's perfectly ideal now for areas where it's easy to pitch a trekking pole style tent. And that is the case with most of our mountains here and out in the more forested areas and alpine meadows and what have you. So it's always good when you can half the weight from one to another. All right, item 11. I am running out of fingers. Backpack. I picked up this Granite Gear Crown 260 a couple years ago, and I was trying to move toward that ultralight spectrum, having lightened up a lot of my other gear, and really thought I was going to love this pack. Had great reviews. Most people have used it, have said it's very comfortable for them. Some of the big selling points for me with this one was that the pack clips off real easily, and you can leave the lid at home. It's got a roll top to it to give you that minimalist style type pack. You can remove the plastic frame sheet out of here. It slips right out, and effectively make it a frameless pack too for experimenting with frameless packing while still kind of having a semi-rigid hard foam pad panel on the back here. And again, really wanted to love it, but the deal breaker for me, and the reason why I'm going to say goodbye to it, the thing that has made me actually start to hate it in this love-hate relationship that has developed, is I don't think it fits right for me. My torso measures out to be about 19 to 20 inches. So I picked up the regular or medium size torso of this pack, which is 18 to 21 inches, thinking, all right, this should do it. On the few rugged trips I've had this out on, these load lifters are very shallow to the shoulder strap, and they actually they eventually ride flush or dip down below my shoulder, despite having the hip belt on as tight as I can get it. And there is no adjustability with the shoulder strap here. So I am pretty much stuck at a fixed torso length with that. And yeah, it just wears and tears on my shoulder and neck and becomes insanely uncomfortable and just miserable. And I can't deal with it anymore. So between that and some other small things I've not liked about it is the side pockets just are a little too narrow and short for what I would want, or too narrow and tight for what I like. And especially the front mesh pocket is very, very small and tight compared to even the front stretchy pockets on these two packs. So the only other good thing about it was lighter weight. It was almost half the weight on this pack compared to these packs. These packs run over 4 pounds each. This pack comes in at about 41 ounces or 2.5 pounds, especially if I remove the lid. It will bring it down to 41 ounces. And if I remove the plastic frame sheet, it drops a few more ounces off of it. But unfortunately, that's gotta go. Or fortunately, as perspective, maybe. It, for this year, is being replaced with what I'm really excited about, a ULA circuit. So I will definitely be doing a video overviewing the features of this pack in much more detail and reasons why I picked this pack over a lot of other comparable packs out there. And just suffice to say, I am stoked to have this, and this is going to be my pack for this year and hopefully many, many, many more years to come. Very excited to have this. Just for fun, I'm going to show an older pack my wife used to use. This is a Jade 60. We're going to be selling this one out as well. And keeping our Osprey packs to share with friends. We actually have a couple in our neighborhood, some neighbors that we're going to be taking out backpacking this year and outfitting them for the trip. And so these packs, these Ospreys with the adjustable torso, going to be a great option for them to be able to use, and will remain our backup loaner packs. But for just now, she is moving on from her Osprey Aurora 50 back here to a circuit as well. So this is her ULA circuit. and she loves her colors. ULA offers a lot of pack design feature that you can choose all these different color swatches for different sections of your pack. So we splurged on the customizability option and let Jess, and Jess was excited to colorize her pack. So she is going to be a big flower walking down the trail, attracting all the hummingbirds and probably a lot of bees and wasps and whatnot as well. But yeah, she is very excited to have this pack as well. Fits her really well, given the custom fit choices. All right, back to my circuit. One reason why I picked the circuit here, and my wife as well, is for the larger capacity. Like the Granite Gear 2, it can store over 60 liters. Well, that sounds overkill once you get the smaller, lighter weight, more packable gear that I'm down to now. Why didn't I go with something smaller like a ULA Ohm or even a frameless CDT? Well, I still like the rigid structure of the frames for larger loads, and while I won't be carrying larger loads that often anymore, for the week-long trips I like to do one of those a year. So that often results in larger food loads that takes up a lot more space. I have a family, I have kids that I go out with. So if I want to take this out on a family trip with any of my kids, and I still need to carry a little extra gear for their sake to make their pack more comfortable for them on the trail, having that extra space is very much a luxury at that point. And then finally, the extra space will really come in handy as well for pack rafting. That's right. I would very much like to get into some pack rafting a little bit and do that for some select trips. And that's also going to play into this hole in the rock route trip I talked about in my last video that I'm planning on doing in the year 2021, so next spring, that I'm gearing up for. And so to go along with that, I picked up a Climate light water dinghy. And so this is a pack raft made by Climate. So I'm excited to get it out on the water this year and see how it rides. There'll be more videos on this coming up as the year goes on, so just stay tuned for that. Now, one other thing, backpacking wise, I was holding off on is the trowel. Right here, I've got a Vargo Dig trowel, and I was tempted to try out a Deuce of Spades this year. I still might at some point, but for now, I think I'm just gonna hold off and still go with the Vargo trowel. It's 1.2 ounces, Deuce of Spades. They've got a variety of them that range from 0.6 to 0.9 ounces, I think. Or is it 0.4? Yeah, 0.4, 0.6, and 0.9 ounces. I don't know, guys. For those of you who have the Deuce of Spades, can you sell it? Sell me on it. Comment below and let me know if it's really worth going for that over a Vargo Dig at 1.2 ounces. This thing's super sturdy. Got a nice curve handle on here, lots of teeth on here to make cutting roots and whatnot a little bit easier. It's got little notches on here to double as a stake if one of the heads on my MSR mini groundhogs breaks off, which has happened a couple times. So that's it, guys. I'm super excited to get all this equipment out into the field and start using it in the backcountry, and really putting it all through the ringer, as it were. So I think I've said enough, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Look at that. Again, I'll leave links down in my description to all the gear that are relevant to leave links to, that's still available to purchase. Again, a lot of these items, as you can tell, are discontinued. But for those items that you can still get that are still in production, we'll definitely provide links to all those things so you guys can learn more about them and see if it's something you want to pick up for yourself. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed, do so. If you haven't hit that notification bell, do so. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.